Well, it's a trifecta that very few have achieved. Win the Heisman, perfect season, national championship.
Dominance. If you could sum up LSU's 2019 season in one word, that's what it would be. The team that was assembled that year is widely considered to be one of the greatest of all time, ranked alongside teams like the late 2010s Clemson and the 2022 Georgia Bulldogs. But what led to their dominance, and what caused LSU's fall from grace following the 2019 season? Now, in order to understand why LSU was so dominant, first, we need to meet the players. First up, Ja'Marr Chase. During the 2019 season, Chase would log 1,780 yards on 84 receptions. With great hands and speed, Chase was considered one of the best wide receivers at the time and has seen great success in the league since being drafted. Next up, we have Justin Jefferson. Similarly to Ja'Marr Chase, Jefferson was almost unstoppable in 2019. While logging over 1,500 receiving yards on 111 receptions, the speedster set the LSU reception record with 111 and finished top 10 in LSU history in 3 different categories. And now, to the running game, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. While in a different role, Edwards was able to match the dominance of Jefferson and Chase through the running game. He rushed for over 1,400 yards on 215 carries and is widely remembered as the best running back ever to come out of LSU. And finally, Joe Burrow, the quarterback. The season that Burrow had in 2019 is widely considered to be one of the greatest of all time by a single player. On his way to dominating a national championship game, he would pass for 5,671 yards on 402 completions, including 60 passing touchdowns, which was an NCAA record at the time. Burrow finished the season as a national champion and a Heisman winner, capping off one of the greatest seasons of all time by an individual player. The Tigers began the season with very high expectations. They were ranked 6th in the preseason AP poll and were projected to finish behind the juggernaut that was the Alabama Crimson Tide in the SEC. The Tigers opened the season with a game against Georgia Southern, and we were given our first glimpse of what was to come as LSU steamrolled the Eagles 55-3. More of the same followed in their next game when they faced number 9 Texas at Texas Memorial Stadium, defeating them 45-38. Burrow passed for 471 yards in this game, earning him SEC Offensive Player of the Week as well as National Offensive Player of the Week awards. Justin Jefferson, Ja'Marr Chase, and Terrence Marshall Jr. each finished the game with over 100 receiving yards, the first time in school history that 3 different players had done so in a single game. They continued their winning ways after this game with 3 consecutive blowouts of Northwestern State, Vanderbilt, and Utah State, outscoring the 3 schools 173-58. Burrow recorded over 300 passing yards in each of these 3 games, making him the first quarterback in school history to throw for more than 300 yards in 4 consecutive games. Following the Utah State game, LSU was slated to face its first real test of the season when they faced the number 7 ranked Florida Gators at home. The Tigers passed with flying colors, winning in comfortable fashion with a final score of 42-28. Burrow finished the game just shy of 300 yards, ending his historic streak of consecutive games with over 300 passing yards at 4. They then dominated Mississippi State and snuck out with a close victory against number 9 Auburn to move their record to 8-0 on the season. The Tigers would then travel down to Tuscaloosa, where they would face their biggest test of the season thus far, the Alabama Crimson Tide. To fully understand how big of a deal this game was, we first need to understand what LSU was up against. While the Tigers were considered to be one of the best teams at the time, Alabama had been a wagon for the past decade. The Tide was at full strength with Nick Saban at head coach and Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback. The Clash of Titans started off well for the Tigers as they were able to convert on some key mistakes by Alabama, and they were able to take a 33-13 lead going into halftime. However, in the second half, the Tide surged and were able to pull within 1 possession with less than 2 minutes remaining. However, a failed onside kick attempt stifled any hopes of a comeback, and LSU kneeled out the clock to seal an unlikely victory. Joe Burrow and the Tigers would then go on to blow out Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Texas A&M to cap off an undefeated regular season, as well as advance to the SEC championship game. In this game, they would have to face the Georgia Bulldogs, who came in at 11-1. Georgia was in the midst of a good year themselves, despite having a tough loss to South Carolina. It was expected that both teams could potentially make it into the playoff regardless of the outcome of the game. LSU came in favored by 7.5 points and erased all doubt with a comfortable win, securing an SEC championship as well as the number 1 seed in the playoffs, where they would take on number 4 Oklahoma in the first round. The Sooners were also in the midst of a pretty good season, and the game was expected to be highly contested. And for about 10 minutes, it was. However, after the first quarter, things began to get out of hand. The Tigers would score touchdowns on their next 7 possessions, and Joe Burrow would log more than 490 passing yards during the game. He would also log 7 touchdown passes, and the final score ended up being a lopsided 63-28. The game came as a shock to many, as Oklahoma was a very good team in 2019. And now, at 14-0, with one of the most dominant seasons in history under their belt, LSU advanced to face the juggernaut Clemson Tigers in the national championship game. The Tigers were led by head coach Dabo Swinney and generationally talented quarterback Trevor Lawrence. The game began with a tightly contested first half, with a late surge from LSU making it 28-17 going into halftime. However, in the second half, LSU began to pull away, hanging on to a lead and claiming their first national title since 2007, and capping off one of the most dominant single seasons of all time by a team in college football history. 14 different players would end up being drafted off of this team, including 5 first-round picks. The 2019 LSU Tigers will go down in history as one of the best college football teams of all time. However, following the 2019 season, the Tigers have struggled, and the championship hangover has been very, very real for LSU fans. To go from an undefeated 15-0 powerhouse of a team to 5-5 the following year is not easy. And only more of the same has followed since, with the Tigers going 6-7 in 2021, having decent seasons in 2022 and 2023, but seemingly struggling again this past year, going 9-4. So, why did this happen? How do you go from 15-0 to 5-5? Well, to put it simply, the success that LSU experienced wasn't sustainable. And with Joe Burrow being drafted the following year, and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson leaving soon after, the Tigers were left without their biggest stars, and have been in decline since. The 2019 Tigers were the personification of dominance during their run, and will forever be remembered for the season that they had. Will LSU ever return to their former glory? Or will the decline continue, with the school doomed to be a middle-of-the-road football team for the next decade? Well, only time will tell. Well, that is going to do it for this one. I appreciate you staying this far if you did. And I just want to say thank you for watching. We got some good stuff coming out soon, so I hope you'll stick around for that. Leave a like and subscribe if you feel like it, because I feel like y'all are going to enjoy that if you enjoyed this one. But yeah, besides that, that's about all I got for you guys. I appreciate you guys staying until the end of the video, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. God bless, guys. Bye.